Trees increase our property value. So planting a tree, we want to make sure that we do it right. And I'm here with Peter Nelson from Nelson Nursery and Water Gardens.
Yes.
And Peter, you're going to guide us through how to take care of planting this tree so it's going to grow beautiful.
Absolutely. You know, trees, like you said, they're a big investment. They add property value. A lot of people plant trees and they don't have good luck. We think we've stumbled on a really good solution. Now you'll find, Sandy, I'm sure you've even seen it before. You look online how to properly install a tree and they say, oh, dig it twice as big as the root ball.
Right.
So you can get all that good soil around there.
Right.
In Houston, that's not the case. You know, we have so much clay in our soil. If we were to dig a big hole here, put the tree in the middle and then pack, you know, potting or landscapers mix or potting soil around it, in a rain, that's just going to almost be a bathtub.
Oh, no.
So the tree's like sitting in a pond.
Okay.
And it rots out.
So that's why this hole is about the size of our tree.
Correct.
Okay.
So fortunately, we had some help today, and they did the hard work for us. But we typically get a tape measure, and we measure how big the root ball is, and then dig the hole to the same size, because we want that to fit in there nicely.
Okay.
Now, we mentioned drainage. You know, a lot of people have newer homes. There's a lot of clay in that soil. We want to make sure that this tree, you know, doesn't fail. I like using this expanded shale.
Okay.
I like to put a couple inches in the bottom. And I just pour that in. That's exactly how we like to do it.
Okay.
So what is expanded shale? It's a product that's porous that in event of wet conditions, it can actually absorb a lot of water.
All right.
So this could really help keep excess water from getting to the tree. And then as the soil dries out, this then releases water. So it's kind of buying us time both ways.
Right.
It's helping us from getting too wet, and it's also helping us from getting too dry.
Great. A good start for planting our tree. Peter, we've got the expanded shale at the bottom of the hole for our tree.
Yep.
What's the next step? Do I need to do anything to the root ball?
So a lot of times these trees don't realize you've taken them out of the pot. So I like to call what I call agitate the root ball.
Oh, okay.
You know, a lot of times just use a flathead screwdriver or something.
Okay.
Depending on how tight it is, sometimes you can just use your hand. But we want those roots to know, hey, it's time to grow. Let's go get out into all the native soil that's there. So we'll go all the way around. We'll give it a nice little, you can see those bright white roots. Those are actively feeding roots. That's a good sign. That means this is a healthy tree at install.
Good.
So at this point, it's the muscle work. We come, we pick the root ball up, and we get that set in there and packed down nice and tight. Now this is obviously a good time. A lot of times trees are going to have a good side or a bad side.
Oh, right.
Now we had set this one in a way that the pretty side was facing out.
Okay.
But you notice how the top of this tree is a little bit above the existing soil?
I see.
That's good. We're doing that to prevent the tree from getting too wet.
Okay.
I see that a lot. I see a lot of trees have trouble because they're too wet.
Okay.
So as you can see, I left a lot of the native soil around here. So at this point, I come in and I start bringing that in there. Because as you can imagine, if we just put a hose here right now, this would just fill up with water. And that's gonna have make our tree roots too wet. So we like to come in there. And a lot of times when I'm digging, we keep a little bucket of soil handy that we can then kind of pour around there. That's perfect. So there's probably better and safer ways to do it, and it's probably why I always have busted knuckles. But I typically just come in. I don't think you need to do that, but I come in and really, I want to pack that in there as tight as I can. And some people use just the end of a shovel to really get it in there.
Okay, so this was just soil.
This was just soil. Some of this was soil that came off of the actual root ball when we lifted it out.
Okay, yeah.
And some of it was the native soil. I always like to mix in some of that good native soil. This particular yard has great soil. I don't know if you noticed earlier all the earthworms in the soil. That's always a good sign. So at this point, we've only used one of the 4 things that I think are super important, which is the expanded shale.
Okay.
That's the one thing that goes in before the other 3.
All right. So now we've got the tree in. We loosened up the root ball a little bit and put the soil around. So now what are we putting on the on the top, around it?
Well, I think I know what one of your favorite products is. What is that?
All of them, actually.
Yes.
Leaf mold compost, I love.
Yes. So I typically will do the leaf mold first. on a larger tree, and this was a 30-gallon tree. I consider that a larger tree.
And it's a beautiful native cherry laurel.
Correct. Using more and more natives, the cherry laurel in the last 2 big freezes wasn't affected at all. So I'd pour it all out there. Get that spread around. I found this product to just be so...
You can just feel
yes.
the healthiness of it, the fresh.
Yep. And the reason this does cost more than some composters, but it's because it's fine screen. The finer the screening, the quicker it breaks down and releases all the good stuff into the soil.
Now,
so this is perfect.
Do we have to worry about around the base of it?
Yes.
Okay.
So for example, and on most plants, you have what's known as almost like the crown of the plant, where the plant comes from the earth up into the air. You don't want this. That's a problem.
Okay.
You're going to choke the tree out. You want to make sure that your soil is basically at the height of the root ball when it went in. So
okay.
This is perfect. We're putting about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch on this whole area.
All right, so we've got our leaf mold compost.
Yes.
And
Perfect
what's our
amount.
next step?
The next step, Sandy, is the microlife. Some people say put the fertilizer on last, but as you know, we've talked about it before, that microlife, it is completely organic, safe for the dogs. But when you put it out and it gets wet, it kind of gets fuzzy.
It does.
Looks kind of weird. So I like to put it out before the mulch. I just have had customers over the years think there was a problem.
Okay. Yeah.
So we just hide it from them. But you know how to spread this stuff out.
All right. I love the microlife.
Yep, perfect. You know, a tree like this, 3 or 4 handfuls would probably be a good amount.
One more?
I think so.
Okay.
That's a good... The nice thing about an organic fertilizer, and I know why you and I like it so much, is that you can't overdo it.
Right.
You can't burn a plant.
Right. That is so important. And there's not a schedule, so I love playing
Correct.
using the microlife. So we've got the compost, the microlife, and our last step.
Mulch.
Yay!
This mulch, black velvet mulch, it is not a dyed mulch. It does have a hole in the bag from me cutting it earlier. So this mulch is called black velvet mulch. It is not dyed. We don't like to use dyed mulches. We want to keep it as organic as possible. It's technically a really, really dark brown. And the reason it is so brown is it's a composted mulch. So in addition to the leaf mold compost,
you're getting a double
double
nutrition for the tree.
And one thing you'll find, similar to compost, the finer a mulch is, the better job it will do actually keeping the weeds from forming, because it makes a nice thick layer.
And the mulch is important for also moisture.
Correct. Especially with, the summers that we have in Houston and the winters we have. In the wintertime, the mulch is insulating the roots, keeping heat in the ground, and it's doing the same thing in the summertime. It's keeping the coolness in the ground and preventing the roots from getting overly hot.
So now we've got this tree planted. How often do I need to water it?
So right off the bat, I typically like to bring a hose over, put it like on the shower setting.
Okay.
And kind of soak it in for about 10 minutes.
Okay.
And then, I like to just, for about a week, visually check it once a day.
Okay.
If it looks fine, I'll let it ride.
Okay.
If it's looking a little wilty, I like to hand water it. And that's in addition to your regular irrigation schedule.
Right, so don't rely, if you have a sprinkler system, don't rely on that to water a new tree.
Correct, especially for that first week. We want all that loose stuff to get packed in there nice and tight and get nice even moisture on the root ball.
Well, this is exciting to have this new beautiful tree here. And I am Sandy with Home Show Garden Pros, and I've been with Peter Nelson from Nelson Nursery and Water Gardens planting a tree.